Davis, and hanging out with me tonight. This gentleman is from Alabama. As a matter of fact, Goshen, Alabama is where he's originally from. And he is, the song he's got out now, I just love. And I'm going to freak him out a minute here, Michael. Bear with me. Because as sure as I do that, they're going to go, whoa, what happened? Just like that. And so he is joining me from Alabama. He's got a great song out there we're going to play for you a little bit later on. That is about one of my all-time favorite. Well, it's named after one of my all-time favorite country artists. So we'll talk about that here in a bit. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing, George?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Just getting down here and getting things done. And was excited to talk to you. We've talked about it for a little bit now, and we got you on. So super excited.
I am too. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, you're welcome, man. So tell me a little bit about you in the early days, growing up in Alabama, and kind of how things went.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for saying Goshen right. A lot of people, when they read it, say Goshen, and I don't expect anybody to know where it is or what it's about. It's a tiny little town in Pike County, Alabama, which is southeast Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I checked, there was about 330 people in the population. It's a 1 mile square, so not a big place. So that's where I
Right.
grew up. Grew up on a family farm down there, and started. I probably started singing. I can't remember when I started, but I know I took it serious about age 14.
Mm-hmm.
My stepdad was the choir leader at our local church, Goshen Baptist Church, and he had a guitar, and he had actually played in a gospel band with my dad, with my real dad,
Okay.
before, way before. So it's kind of interesting. I got a good intro to music there, and he showed me how to play 3 chords on it, and I figured out it was a good way to have fun at parties and meet girls. So off we went. But I uh, I also figured out I could write songs. They weren't any good back then, but it was just a good way, to get that teenage angst out or whatever. And it started as poetry, I think, and just kind of developed into music. And
Right.
so, I grew up playing in church quite a bit. Probably the first place I ever played in public was at Goshen Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And I would play at, we had field parties and dirt road parties and whatever back there. We didn't have much else to do. And went to college and met my wife there in college. And I got married pretty young. I was married at 19.
Okay.
So she let me play in the bars and at parties and stuff. Well, she let me anyway, but I played, all around Auburn where I went to school. And I kind of took a little hiatus from music when my daughter was born.
Right.
Took about, I don't know, I'd say 10 to 12 years off of doing it seriously. I would still play, but just not hot and heavy 3 and 4 nights a week.
Right.
And picked it back up uh, about 4 years ago, and we're gonna see what we can do.
Right. Well, a couple of questions just about what you said to start with. One of the questions I have, because I hear it a lot, is when guys talk about learning to play guitar, it's always for the girls. Did
Yeah,
that do you any good?
well, it did me some bad too. So I was
There you go.
I was a nerdy little kid. Um, I was athletic, but I wore these, and if I didn't have my contacts in, you see them. I had these big Coke bottle glasses, so I wasn't getting much attention. But I figured out I didn't know I could sing, but I figured out I could, and yeah, it got me a lot of attention. It I've been married 23 years now, so it got me that one. That's the one that counts.
Well, absolutely. You- and that's a perfect way to look at it too.
Yeah.
Um, and you said you started writing music when you were about 14 and
hmm
around there. Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
No, I probably have it written down because I keep a lot of notebooks, and I'd be embarrassed to read it to you. But like I said, most of them started as just poetry, or probably some girl breaking my heart or not paying me attention. But
Right.
I Actually, so about when I started, really pursuing this dream again about 4 years ago, I recorded an EP, just an acoustic, really demo EP,
Hmm.
and some of the songs we released, or I released, I think five, but I've got about five more. And anyway, some of those that we released and some that we did not were actually written back then. So one of them was, well, it was a town. It's called "Small Town of Mine," and it was about Goshen, Alabama.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't. No, we actually released that one, so you can hear it. Wherever you stream music from. Michael
Okay.
Jay Hughes. So yeah, it was simple songs, but I like to write simple songs. That get to the point and just get it out there.
Right. Well, the simple ones to me are always the best. They don't have to be elaborate, I'm a simple guy, so I don't,
Me too.
if it's too elaborate, I'm just sitting there going, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I, I just don't get into it. But um I think a lot of one of the cool things, and I'm thinking about some artists, and a lot that I've talked to, and then like Kelsey Ballerini and Kenny Chesney have that song "Half of My Hometown," which was written about Knoxville, where they're both from. A lot of people tend to write about where they came from first,
Hmm.
is what it seems like.
Yeah. Well, it's what you know, and
Right.
and even as you keep writing, I still write about stuff that happens about then. In fact, my latest single, which we'll talk about later, but it's a true story from back when I was about 17 years old. So you just kind of hold on to it, and I think I wrote it just feeling nostalgic one day about my hometown. I was probably missing my hometown and missing some of my high school friends and everything. So yeah, as you get older, you start writing more about more complex things. But I'm like you; I like to keep it simple and just get to the point.
Right. Now, where are you based out of now? You're not in Goshen now, right?
No, sir. I'm about 45 minutes up the road.
Okay.
I'm in Pike Road, which is right outside of Montgomery.
Okay. All right. And I noticed, I mean, I was looking over some stuff, and you've played a lot up there in places like Troy and Ozark and
Hmm.
Dothan, and I'm familiar with Ozark and Montgomery, and I'm a little bit familiar with Goshen. That's how I knew how to pronounce it, and I don't recall why. I must have talked to somebody before, or it was just one of those things that I knew for whatever reason. Um, but as you got older and you're getting into music, I mean, you got into music pretty good for a while,
Hmm.
and that was kind of what you were following. And then the family came along, and then you just kind of made the decision that you wanted to step away because your daughter was born.
Right. Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't want to miss. You know what? I actually heard. I'm just thinking about this right now. It just came to mind, but
Mhm.
I think it was a Trace Atkins song. Um, "Let 'Em Be Little," wasn't that one of his?
Yeah.
And I think I heard that song one day, and I thought, man, I can't be on the road and miss some of these nights being home with her and watching her grow up. And of course, she was real athletic, so she got into softball. We did soccer.
Right.
Now we're doing soccer and cheer. So to me, I knew the music would be there, it would always be there, especially songwriting.
Right.
So to me, it was the better choice to do, and I don't regret it a bit to be there for her and for my wife Ashley. So
Right.
uh,
And I like the take on that of, you want to be there for them because um, in today's society, and as much as I hate to say it, we so many times hear about absent dads and even absent moms more a lot now than what we used to. And I think, growing up, it's hard. I mean, I dealt with that growing up. My dad was there, but he was always on the road trying to make money. He
yeah,
was a salesman, so but you still miss that connection and
right,
stuff. You get a lot closer with whatever parents at home because they're the ones kind of bringing you up and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
and I did have. I can't say I didn't have the fear of missing out some of those times. Now I would play still pretty regular, but it would be maybe twice a month just to keep it fresh at a local restaurant, but nothing late at night or anything like that, because I just didn't want to miss it. And I'm a firm believer in God's sovereignty, and so I never think of it as, well, you should have done this, or what if you would have done that. I've
Right.
always felt like I'm right where I'm supposed to be at the time I'm supposed to be here, if that makes sense.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. What has been your daughter's take on the music? I mean, she's older now. She's from what I read, she's around 16 or so now.
Oh no, she just
Uh,
turned 18 in
just turned
September.
18. Oh
Yeah, she's a
wow, I'm
senior. Yeah.
way behind.
It seems, I look at her as like 10 years old, but yeah, no, she's 18. So she
Yeah.
she's all about it. Sometimes, I have to do a lot on social media, and some of the stuff, of course, being a teenage girl, I'm sure it embarrasses her a little bit, because you have to put yourself out there, and
Right.
sometimes act goofy and everything. But she's one of the biggest supporters I have. In fact, I was so glad to be able to take her and one of her friends, and Ashley, my wife, up to Nashville when we had a video release party for our first single, Dirt Road Whiskey. And
Mhm.
I really wanted her to go to kind of see, hey, this is what your dad's been doing. I'm not just up there goofing off. And
Right.
it did me good. It made my heart feel good for her to, her eyes are kind of big, like, wow, you were in here and you did this. I don't know, just a proud dad moment.
Right. So she understands that it's not all fun and games.
Oh yeah, she sees, even now that she's older. I mean, gosh, when she turned 16, we don't see her a lot anyway. She's in and out the door to get gas money and food, and here she goes. But when she's here, I'm usually up here in my music room whenever I'm not working, my regular job, writing songs or practicing or doing TikToks or whatever. So she
Mhm.
gets it. Yeah, she knows it's not all just hanging out in bars all the time.
Right. And has she shown any kind of inclination that she might follow in your footsteps on the music side?
George, it was probably she was probably about the age I started. I think it was about 14, and oh man, my heart skipped a beat. She said, "I want to learn to play guitar," and I said, "Okay." And so I sat down and I taught her to play "Amazing Grace" on the guitar, and she had it within a week. She had, three little chords, and she can sing really good too. But
Right.
being a teenage girl, as soon as she figured out she could do it, she put it down. I was like, okay, and that was it. No more. I'm like, God, all this talent, you just. But she may be like me and just come back to it later. It's there if she wants it.
Right.
And actually, I don't know if we'll get to release this song. Maybe, maybe not. But she actually co-wrote a song with me. Just sitting, I was stuck on a verse, and she sat down with me, and she just came up with it. She came up with the entire second verse, just like that. And I said, "Baby, you're a songwriter." But we'll see. I don't know. She's got it. It's just if she wants to use it.
Right. Got to get her in the credits and get that thing posted so she can brag about that to some of her friends. Look
Absolutely.
what I did. I wrote a song
Now
and it's
she's
up
worried
on
about,
Spotify.
yeah. I mean, she's worried about, sorority, what sorority she wants to get into and all that stuff right now. I can't blame her.
Right.
She's a kid.
Right. And they go through those stages. I mean, we've got four between my wife and I, and they're all out of that. I mean, they're all our youngest is 22 and she's works at a hospital in the OR, and
Hmm.
the oldest one's 30. I'm gonna get this wrong, and I really hope he's not watching. Uh,
Make it
30.
younger.
Yeah. Um, I think he's 30, 35, 36. So he's, I guess 20, this is 22. So he's 35. He'll be 36 this year. And, he's been a police officer. He's been a deputy sheriff. He's, um, uh, worked in, yeah, he's now was in the hospital doing the OR thing. He's a RN, and also going to school to be a nurse practitioner. And So we have a lot of medical and education on our side of, in our family. That's what our kids do. We've got three that are basically in medical and one that's in education, but we have two daughter-in-laws that are both in education.
Well,
And so
you gotta let them do what they want to do, and we've always been
exactly.
supportive of that. Is you just follow your passion, whatever it is, and
Right.
I got a lot of that growing up, so I want to give it to her too. In other words, we're gonna be encouragers. I believe in you no matter what. So
Yeah, my daughter, I've been in radio for a long time. That's my day job, and my daughter actually did a little bit of that. She worked part-time at a radio station, and then in the at the front desk, and then they asked her to do some commercials, and she kind of liked doing that, and that's about the closest any of my kids have followed in my footsteps. um, so because I could never do the whole nursing and education thing,
right,
I'm not there. I'm
right.
just not there.
I hear you.
Um, but you you talked about releasing, the song that you did that you'd written when you were younger.
Hmm.
What was the reaction when you released that song or put it out? Have you had people comment on it a lot?
Yeah. Well, it really surprised me because I hadn't lived in Goshen, and like I said, it's not far away.
Hmm.
But in a way, it seems like it is, And so I hadn't lived there since I was, well, 18. So
Right.
it surprised me the reaction it got from people back there, and young people too, that recognized some of these things I was talking about, because that whole EP was honestly about young people stuff that I experienced, and they're still
Right.
experiencing the same thing. So one of the songs is called Goshen, Alabama, that I co-wrote with a friend of mine from high school. So that probably gets the biggest response from down around Troy and Ozark and everything, because they know exactly what I'm talking about. So
Right.
it was encouraging to be the um first thing I put out on my own. It was encouraging to know that, hey, there is some people that want to hear this stuff. So it was good for
Right.
me.
So, who were some of the influences that you had growing up musically?
Um, well, as far as artist goes, man, being here in Alabama, it's got to be Hank Williams. That's probably who I want to, you emulate people. So
Right.
I emulated, or tried to, some of his songwriting, because, in fact, years ago, I bought just a book that's nothing but his songs with just the lyrics. And it's shocking how simple they are, but they're very complex too. So probably a songwriting hero of mine. And then Hank Jr., is he still lives around here, and people see him from
Mhm.
time to time. And that was a big influence when I was a teenager and a younger man, probably because of the rowdy party nature of it. And man, I loved 80s and 90s country. Randy Travis, Alan Jackson, you know, a lot of people say that, but I've got every record they have, I mean, everything they ever put out.
Right.
So, and then as far as personally, I mean, that's artist wise, but personally, like I said, I was surrounded by my stepdad playing hymns and stuff, getting ready for church, and he played piano and guitar, and then my dad plays bass. He actually still plays uh, with some of his old buddies in it's like a '60s rock band, I guess you'd say.
Oh, okay.
Like they call themselves the Fabulous Shades,
Mm.
and so you got a little diversity. I had gospel, I had country, I had rhythm and blues, and some Motown in there.
Right.
It's just from everywhere. But I settled in. I really fell in love with country listening to the Alan Jackson's, Randy Travis, and Tracy Lawrence, and all that as you got older.
Right. What would you say is the thing between well, I'll just say it this way. I mean, you're from Alabama, so you got Muscle Shoals down there, which is
Mhm.
big on the blues and everything, and then you got country. What's the biggest thing that drew you more to the country side of it as opposed to going the blues direction?
Yeah, well, it's probably how I sing was the main thing. I figured I could sing country really good. Um, and I couldn't play guitar well enough to play blues. But
Right.
I've always liked it. It goes back to like Hank Williams' songwriting. Is he was writing about stuff, and he was way before my time, but I
Hmm.
identify with everything he was writing about. I like the storytelling aspect of country, and
Right.
even some of the I don't like a lot of it, but even some of the pop country you hear now, it's fine.
Right.
It's some of it's telling a story. It's fine with me. It's still country. It's just a different subcategory to me. But
Right.
it's probably that. Probably the main thing would be the just the storytelling aspect. It made me feel something. Made me nostalgic and something I could relate to.
Hmm. I hear that so many times from artists that it's that's their thing is country is just so relatable, and it is.
Mhm,
You listen to one of my favorite current artists, Luke Combs, you
mhm,
know, and he does the new song that he just released right about the time of what was the ACMs or CMAs doing this,
mhm,
and you think about so many artists or people that play music are trying to get into the industry, and you listen to that song and they've been there. They've been at that, that place on a Friday night where they've got a crowd in the palm of their hand
mhm,
and those kind of things. And a lot of country artists that I like so much about them is not forgetting where they come from,
mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Well, it strikes a chord, and you're right about it being relatable because it still shocks me as an older. I'm a little bit older than some of the people I meet and know, and some of my good friends in Nashville. But it shocks me that being my age, I can write a song and I'll have some of my daughter's friends and some of her age, you know, friends will dig the song and be telling me about it. And I'm thinking, how in the world are you relating to something I wrote? So it just transcends everything. At the same time, the music I was listening to, I was a young person and they were much older than me too. So it just makes sense.
Right, and a lot of it's the translation of it, how do you take that and put that into your life as a listener? How does
Hmm.
that fit in with you? And the way that somebody that's, 18, 19, 20 years old may be hearing it different, say, than I would, but we connect to it in different ways.
That's true.
Mine would be the memory of my hometown,
Hmm.
which I left when I was 20 years old, so I've been away from there for almost 40 years now. And, boy, I just dated myself. Probably
I'm,
shouldn't have quite put it that way.
I'm not good
Uh,
at math, so I don't know what you.
and, but I can relate to, certain things in a song from that, and then other people that are younger relate to a different part of it, and I think that's so cool. And that's just the way country is. It can
Mhm.
touch so many people,
Yeah.
you know.
And I like, I get asked a lot in interviews and everything about what does this song mean or what. Well, I can tell you what I wrote it about, but that's not what it means. Like you just said, it may mean something to me, but it's going to mean a totally different thing to you because it may strike a different chord, bring up a different emotion. I just want you to feel something. So I don't like to tell you what it means. I can tell you what it's about.
Right, right. That's the thing, it's exactly like you said, what it means to you as the writer is not the same of what it means to me as the listener. It's
Hmm.
just, there's a lot of things in there that come across and that's what you want, but it may not be exactly what you were thinking when you wrote it. Oh, well, they're going to get this out of the song.
Right. Yeah, they
I may
never
be,
do. They
yeah,
get what they want.
exactly. Let's talk a little bit about you ran into a couple of guys, and I was reading this earlier. You record at 19th Street Records in Nashville.
With Studio 19, Nashville.
Studio 19.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Um, I'm there's another. That's not the one that Jay DeMarcus owns, is it?
No, this one is it's now located at the Sound Kitchen in Franklin. It used to be in Nashville,
Okay.
but
Okay.
Larry Rogers owns it, and he may have a co-owner too. But Larry Rogers is one of my managers. Rhett, that's his dad that owns that. So
Mhm.
that's what we've done. We did all the singles so far is at Studio 19.
Right. Now, Larry had a little bit of notoriety.
Hmm.
He wrote a song for Garth. That's not one of the more well-known songs of Garth. It's
Yeah.
not like "Friends in Low Places" or "Callin' Baton Rouge," but it's
Hmm.
one that he did record and stuff. So if you recognize that name, then that's what it is. But his son Rhett and then John Archer,
Hmm.
they kind of they kind of co-manage your career? Is
Yeah,
that what that
yeah, they
is?
right. They're partners. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what now? Had you recorded anywhere other than Nashville before you went to them?
Well, a local we've got a local, studio. I don't think it's open anymore, but, it was called Guest House Studios, and that's where I just did with me and the guitar. So and I had recorded one demo there for another person, with a full band, but no, that was in 2020 whenever we recorded that was my first experience in a place like that, and it blew my mind.
Right. You're right. That sums up the question I was getting at because I was gonna ask you, how did the experience compare? But that pretty much sums it up.
Well, I get asked about it all the time, and I love to tell the story because it makes me feel it again. You go in that studio and you see all the gold records and you see the people who recorded there and that imposter syndrome starts creeping in and you think, what in the world? What am I doing here? I can't, I don't belong here. But especially with the musicians we had on our tracks, they were some heavy hitters but they made me feel right at home. I mean, I was
Right.
nervous as I could be, but within 5 minutes, they're just so professional and laid back, just like I am. They're just country guys like me. And I do have to tell you, though, the first song we did is one that we're going to release. We've got to release in February. I think it's going to be released at the end of March. And
Mhm.
it's the song you were talking about that Garth recorded is Alabama Clay. It was written by Larry
Right.
Cordell and I forget the other guy that he passed away, but I did get to meet Larry Cordell. Um, anyway, we started with that one because I said, let's do this one. I know it, and they should know it. And so I'm in the vocal booth by myself, just like this, with headphones on and the mic. And they counted it off, and man, that first full sound in the headphones of that caliber of musicians, chill bumps, man. I'm getting them right now just thinking about it. And I was so overwhelmed, I forgot to start singing. I just totally blew it. But I looked over at Jason Roller, the guy we had leading the session, and he just kind of. I thought we just all stopped like normal. He said, "No, just keep going, pick it up on the second verse." So they're so professional, and they did a fantastic job. They just put me right at ease.
Wow. Is it an experience that if you had to rate that experience, let me ask it this way. If you had to rate that experience from like a 1 to 5, where would you put that?
Oh, that's a six, man. That was incredible. It was musically, it was the biggest moment of my life at that point. It's just I just kept thinking it. Well, I didn't really think about it until it was over with. I was just kind of there and
Right.
knew what I had to do. And then it wasn't until we got through with the day and you could kind of relax a little bit. And I thought back, I just recorded at Studio 19 with, Jason Roller, Steve Henson, Greg Loman. I mean, I'm naming these people and it just, how in the world, how did a 14-year-old kid, sitting on his bed in Goshen, Alabama, writing these songs and some of them, how did he end up here? I don't take it for
Right.
granted. I'm very grateful for that experience.
Right. And I've listened to some stuff. I've especially listened to this latest one because like I said, one of my all-time favorite country music artists. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Then before we go to that, I got to do a quick break here, and we'll just to acknowledge our sponsors for the night. We're being sponsored by Go-Go Tuners. They're the professional tuner or the go-to tuner for professional amateur musicians. And the owner of that's actually based out of Muscle Shoals. We've also got Civvies Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Check them out at civviesapparel.com. Find out more about them. They give 10% of every purchase to veteran charities, very veteran-centric. We've also got Heart to Heart Coffee, another veteran organization, and they are an amazing coffee. You can find out more about them at heartcoffee.com, and by Three Rangers Whiskey. And Three Rangers, it was a product that was born of brotherhood, service, and sacrifice. You can check them out at threerangers.com. So without further ado, let's check out the song that Michael has just released about one of my favorite artists, and it is called Keith Whitley Songs. It's on Before Nashville.
I can still feel the cool fall breeze that September night. You were standing there playing with your hair, eyes dancing in the firelight. With Keith Whitley on the radio, I took your hand in mine. I pulled you close and we danced real slow. Don't close your eyes. And it was love 10 feet away. You say nothing at all. What's left to say? And I love you all night long with these arms beating your way. Brother jukebox, you can't go wrong. Just keep on playing Keith Whitley songs. Played that song 100 times before the night was through. I didn't want to miss one single kiss, 'cause I was falling in love with you. But the battery on my truck was dead when I finally stepped away. So I pulled out my old guitar and started to play. And it was love 10 feet away. When you say nothing at all, what's left to say? And I love you all night long with these arms beating your way. Brother jukebox, you can't go wrong. Just keep on playing the Keith Whitley song. And it was love from 10 feet away. When you say nothing at all, what's left to say? And I love you all night long with these arms beating your way. Brother jukebox, you can't go wrong. Just keep on playing Keith Whitley songs.
That's Michael Jay Hughes with Keith Whitley Songs on Before Nashville. And you know, the first thing that comes to my mind about that song,
What's up?
Is I want to know if anybody can name every Keith Whitley song in there other than you, because you wrote it.
Yeah, there's been a few. I had to do
I'm not quite sure if
TikToks.
you can or not, but that would be interesting to find out nonetheless. um, I'm guessing that Keith had a big role in your life to write that kind of a song.
He did. He was, gosh, he probably would have been the greatest to me, maybe anyway, one of the greatest country singers ever, greatest voice I
Yeah.
heard. Just incredible. And but that song is a true story. Like I said, my songs are very simple, and that story played out exactly like it did in the song. So that happened under a that night happened under a bridge we used to hang out under
Uh-huh.
in Goshen, and we had a fire, and there was a girl I was interested in, and I asked her to dance, and there we were dancing by the firelight, and we had the CDs back then, back in the olden
Right.
days, and I've still got the Keith Whitley Greatest Hits CD that I had that night, and that's what the
Wow.
song is about. It was inspired by that Greatest Hits CD that we popped in, and we were playing it over and over, and me and that girl were dancing. I didn't want it to stop, so we just let it play again until the
Mhm.
truck battery died. So it's a totally true story.
Oh man. And so the thing about, sorry didn't get her home on time because the truck battery died, that was true.
It was true,
Even
100%.
though her parents may not have believed it, but
No, no, I wrote a song about it, Dad.
right,
Long.
exactly. I got it covered. I got it covered. I promise. I promise. So, what would you say is the? I mean, you've told me the backstory on the song, and when you wrote that, Did it take you personally back to that time?
Hmm. I think that's why I
And
wrote it.
okay,
I think I'm trying to remember exactly when I did. I wrote it in less than an hour. I know that, and I just kind of sat down and started writing it. I think it probably was in the fall, about uh, 3 or 4 years ago, because
hmm
I was probably thinking about homecoming, class reunions, that kind of thing. So I just
right,
got nostalgic, and I do that from time to time as you think about back home and start remembering stories and people. And for some
right.
reason, that night came to mind, and I didn't even think of I didn't think much of it when I wrote it. To be honest with you, I just wrote it to get it out of my head, and I thought I didn't write it to think, well, this would be a catchy little tune about Keith Whitley. It's just that was the story, and it just kind of flew out of the pen there.
Right. So the intention was never, oh, like you said, this is I'm just gonna sit down and write a song about Keith Whitley using some of his song titles and
No, it just I thought about that night, and and all my friends and everything that were there, and I still see some of them, very few of them, but I don't know, it just all came to mind, and that's the way I like to write. A lot of people got different styles, and to
right,
me, I can write if we just sit down and let's try to hammer out a song. But to me, the best ones are the ones that it's just like, I need to write this down. Let's get it down right now. And then
right.
you may have to go back and fix a few things, but just I don't know where it comes from or what makes it happen, but it's just there.
Is the majority of your music solo rights by you, or do
Mhm.
you have co-writers?
Right now, the majority, everything we've got out except Dirt Road Whiskey is me and Ben solo writes. I did co-write Goshen, Alabama, one of the early ones, with a guy, Dennis Milton
Mhm.
from Goshen. But no, I don't have a lot of co-writes. But I want to co-write more. That's one of my goals for this year, and I've started doing that with some people just to, there wasn't a lot of people in my town, I guess, to
Right.
in a town that small, it was hard to find people that write songs anyway. So that's why I've been trying to go to Nashville at least once a month and meet people, and it's fun. It's fun co-writing with people, especially when you think the same things, but you get a different perspective from a thought you may have.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
So with that being said, it's pretty safe to say you've not really done like the 2020 writers rounds of Zoom.
Yeah, I'm actually writing with a guy now. We just started. God, I think it was last week. I haven't met the guy.
Mhm,
He's in Texas, and he's a friend of John. I think his dad is a friend of John's, John Archer,
mhm.
and he sent me a Facebook message and just said, "Hey, I'm trying to finish this song and I'm stuck on it. I'm just gonna see what you think, and if you think of something, do it." And he sent it to me, what he had, and I sat down and played with it and sent it back to him. And I think it's pretty daggum good. So we're doing that. I hadn't done the Zoom stuff, but we're doing it by like text message right now, and it's been
Oh,
pretty
wow.
fun. We're working on two, so we'll see how they
Right.
go.
Well, that's great. Um, you're I didn't say this earlier after the song, but your style is just exactly like you describe the people that you look up to and that were influential to you. I mean, you've got a great, just a, I don't want to call it classic
Hmm.
country because I don't want to, I don't want you to feel like, well, he's calling me old.
No, it doesn't bother me.
But the sound itself is reminiscent of the classics. I
Mhm.
mean, your voice and your I mean, the instrumentation, the piano and the steel, and I love the way that they brought those 2 particular instruments to
Yeah,
the forefront.
yeah. Only thing I can take credit for on that is I told him, I said, I want my songs to have steel guitar in it and a lot of it. And that's Steve
Mhm.
Henson doing that steel, and he did a phenomenal job. And they couldn't
Oh,
turn
yeah.
it up loud enough for me in the studio. I love that steel guitar. And then the piano was Dwayne. He plays with Clint Black, and
Okay.
he said, I'm gonna bring this in, and that's what they do up there. That's what
Yep.
they're such experts at. And what impressed me was those guys took my song and took such care with it, like it was theirs too, is what I
Mhm.
mean. I probably sang through it 4 or 5 times and my vocal part was done. And I just went there and listened, but they were in there another 3 or 4 rounds just to get, let me add this in here, let me fix this. And that meant a lot to me. That was very professional of them, but I could tell that they appreciated the art of it. And that was their adding their piece of artwork into it.
Right. With seeing that, do you maybe this isn't the right time to ask this question until you've worked with them some more, but do with the guys that you worked with, do you feel like that they do that pretty much on everything that they do? They put a little piece of them into it just
Don't doubt it
by,
a bit. Yeah,
you know,
no
they
doubt.
pay attention to the fine details.
Yes. We went in there and I played it. Larry had me play it for him, just with them standing around on my guitar the way I do it acoustic. And of course, they had it charted out already, but they were all listening, paying attention. In other
Right.
words, I didn't feel like I was. It didn't feel like they were on a job. They were having fun too, and I have no doubt they do that with any song they get. They're just a phenomenal bunch up there.
Right.
Really impressive.
And it came through. I mean, in the song itself, like I said, it's just so musically it just sounds, you know, you can nothing against you, but I mean, if you took the voice out and listened to the music, you could hear the
Mhm.
professionalism in the music, and then when you add the voice and your voice fits in with that just so perfect and
Well, thank
sounded
you.
so good on that song.
Well, and they thank you first of all, but and they that's what I mean about being in there.
Mhm.
When you hear that level of professionalism and just art, it brings you up a level too because you have to be. You think, well, I've got to do this. I got to nail it. And so I can't wait to get back in the studio. I ain't gonna lie.
Right,
I hope we're there. Hopefully before the summer, but we'll see how it goes.
right. Here's one more thing about the recording process, and I'm just curious on this one. Did they record those as tracks, or did they do it as like in a live room where they're all playing at the same time?
Um, Man, they were tracked, but they were all in the same general room. We had drums and bass, and the steel guitar was in one big room, and then Jason Roller was in his own booth with lead guitar. I was isolated in the vocal booth. You had Dwayne in a booth with the piano, and then we had the female singer you heard on there is Marty Slayton. She sings back up with George Strait, and she
Oh,
came
okay.
in, I think, maybe the next day and laid those down. So they were
Wow.
all. It was very organic because they were all there. They were interacting with each other instead of just doing their piece and going home.
Right. And that's the way I like to see it done. I like
Mhm.
where, it some people will record as they call live where they're all in the room and they just do it that way. And there's not much of a chance to tweak it like you were talking about Dwayne
Mhm.
saying, I want to try this in here. Let me do something
Mhm.
a little different, and where they're kind of the producer of their own part,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And that's the way I like it to be. But, most people don't know the difference nowadays because it's just all, you got great producers in Nashville
Mhm.
and people can track, like there's people that have recorded vocals and one's been in LA, one's been in Nashville or,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But you never know it by
Right.
listening to it. It sounds like they're all in the same room. Um, Not to give away a Nashville secret or anything.
Broke down the fourth wall there.
Right. Nashville doesn't like me sometimes anyway. I kinda let my mouth overload my backside, so
Well, we did it the only way I know because that's the only way I've ever done it, and I tell you, it sure is more fun that way. Just to
Oh,
You can
yeah.
feel the energy, and
Exactly.
you
That's
can feel it hearing it. Certain people can, and you
right.
apparently you felt it too, which that means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love the song. It's like I said, it's with Keith Whitley being one of my favorites, it's just, I remember the first time I heard, "Don't Close Your Eyes," and I was like,
Mhm.
"Wow,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And, it's just ever since then, it's like Whiskey Lullabies, so many people have tried to redo that one
Mhm.
just so many people have tried to redo so many of his songs,
Yeah.
but it's just not the same.
No, you
Um,
can't replace it. So I that's why I love Keith Whitley too, and man,
mhm.
I'd love to cover some of his stuff, but I just don't feel right doing it because I don't think I could do it justice. So
Absolutely.
I hope it does enough to if the Whitley family hears it, they'll appreciate it for what it
That was
is.
my next question, if Jesse Keith or Miss Laurie had heard it yet or anything, and
I know Jesse Keith has. He actually, have to be active on TikTok, um,
right,
and of course I promoted a bunch on there, and somebody tagged him. I didn't even know he was on there, and somebody tagged him on there. But people do that all the time, and you never know if they see it or if somebody else is managing their account. But he actually
right.
saw it and responded, and I won't tell you exactly what he said, but he liked it a whole lot, and so I
I
was,
think I saw that.
yeah, yeah. So he said, I love this. I'm gonna get you up here in June or for our memorial ride. We'll see if I hope that comes to fruition. I'd love to do that, but
Yeah.
he shared it on his Facebook page, which he's got over 300,000 followers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that just boom, that just helped it take off. So I'm glad. That blows my mind too. I
Right.
just got through with an interview before I did this one, and I told the guy the same thing. I said, "Man, I sit back and think sometimes when I talk about where I'm from and what I came from. If you'd have told a 14-year-old Michael Jay sitting in his bedroom playing a guitar, you're going to write a song about Keith Whitley, and his son's going to hear it and love it and share it. I mean, I never would have believed you. It's just
Right.
it's so much to be grateful for.
Right. Well, and even, quite if I were in your shoes, even if somebody would have told me 5 years ago that was gonna happen, I would never believe them.
Right,
You know?
right,
It's like, don't play with my emotions here. Don't be toying with me.
yeah. So I never take it for granted, man.
Right.
Everything we do is a blessing to me. It's like living the dream. You're not there yet, but man, I'm enjoying the ride so far.
Right. So what are the plans for 2022? I mean, you've talked about releasing the EP, putting out some new
Hmm.
music, and things like that. So,
Right.
what's your direction going this year?
Well, we've released 3 of the 6 so far that we recorded in that during that session. Now we were able to do 2. This was just impromptu. I was able to record 2 acoustic covers with a friend of mine named he's an artist named Caleb Garrett.
Hmm.
Phenomenal talent, just a very unique voice, and he can play lead guitar like you wouldn't believe. And we happened to be in Nashville at the same time, and finally got to meet. And we were just playing guitar and in a friend of ours, Greg Miller's living room one day, and we're just playing around with covers and everything. And he said, "Hey, you guys," he had an opportunity for us to go record at a studio. I can't say where, but we were very fortunate to get to go do that kind of a slip in the back door type thing. And
Right.
we recorded these 2. He recorded one himself, but February 11th, we're going to record a cover of a Bee Gees song, "To Love Somebody." A lot of people covered
Okay.
that song, but
Right.
mine is very country and soulful, and Caleb singing backup vocals on it and playing lead guitar. But it's just me and him and 2 old Gibson J45s and microphones. It's phenomenal. So that's what we got coming up, and then we're going to do Alabama Clay the end of March, and then we've got a song I wrote. It's called "Ride On." I wrote it right in the middle of the pandemic. I woke
Mhm.
up frustrated one day and mad at the world. So it's more of like a Dirt Road Whiskey type song,
Yeah.
rocking song type thing. We're going to do that over the summer. And I don't really know what the plans are, but as far as release schedule, but we try to do one at least every 6 weeks to, hopefully build name recognition and get people listening to my music. And then we'll put the EP out. And we probably got a whole nother album ready to record right now, as
Wow.
soon as we can. So exciting
So,
stuff.
has social media, obviously it's helped you because,
Hmm.
somebody shared it with Jesse Keith and then he shared it. But when and with you being in it now compared to, the old way that things had to be done where you're basically hustling up and down Music Row, handing out
Hmm.
tapes or CDs and knocking on doors and stuff like that. Do you feel like that social media has been an advantage for your career?
Absolutely, absolutely. For me personally, it has. Now it's a lot of work. It's a whole nother job that doesn't really
Mhm.
pay a dime, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the people I meet through social media. I don't know if you're familiar with Boots of Europe. It's a
Mhm.
They're based out of Norway, and Linda Boots over there.
Right.
She I found her on Instagram, and we've struck up a friendship. I've never met her. I don't know if I ever will, but she's one of the biggest promoters of my music that I couldn't pay her enough to do it. And so that never would have came about without social media. Now, on the other hand, you have to do it all the time, and of course, you have to be careful what you say and what you do, so you don't get censored. But it's been a huge advantage for me personally.
And that's one of the success stories that I've heard is the connection.
Hmm.
That seems to be the common thread, the way you can connect. I mean, you can connect to, I worked with an artist and you can connect to fans that are, you know, 1,500 miles away by using social media, where otherwise you might never be able to,
Right.
uh, because they're not in a geographic proximity
Hmm.
to where they can come to a show.
Right. And
And
that's
that's a way
that's
a lot of people were found out before.
yeah, yeah. Lord, I never would have had that 20 years ago. Even
Yeah.
I never would have met some of these people. In fact, some of my good friends I've met in Nashville, the way we met was through TikTok. I'd
Right.
find them on TikTok, and I'd put a name to a face, and then uh, actually one of my good friends up in Nashville, S.J. McDonald, she's a phenomenal female artist on the way up. I
Mhm.
was, me and Rhett were just walking around catching shows, catching the local stuff, and we're sitting at a bar, and I hear somebody say, Michael? I turn around, and it was her, and she recognized me from TikTok. So, see, I never would have met her otherwise. She's from Virginia. So,
Right.
to me, it's been a blessing. All in all, it can be a curse sometimes, but
Right. So, are you satisfied with where you're at, or do you feel like, hey, at some point I'm going to have to move to Nashville?
yeah, no, I'm not. I'm never satisfied. That's the curse too. Is there's always the next hill, to climb. I'm
Right.
content, I guess, for now.
There.
But like I said, my daughter is a senior, and she'll be going to school next year. So I've been trying to go to Nashville once a month. It's only a 4-hour drive, which isn't that bad. So I get up
Right.
there quite often. But I do. I feel like I miss out on a lot not being there. So I may have to figure out a way to get up there even more than that, because seems just things just seem to happen when you're in town. You never
Right.
know who you're going to meet, what's going to come about. I never would have recorded those 2 covers we got coming up, without meeting Caleb, just on a whim going to Nashville. So no, I'm not satisfied.
And that's one of the things I've always said. Um, when you said you never know who you're going to meet, that's so true, because you could be in a writers' round in Nashville, at Belcourt Taps or Alley Taps or Cabana Taps or Whiskey Jam or any of them,
Hmm.
and sitting out in the crowd may be that one person that signs you to a contract,
Yep.
and you know I don't want to say life's happy ever after, because that doesn't always pan out for some, but you've reached that major milestone in your
Hmm.
career
Yeah.
of signing a contract.
Yeah.
And and you just never know. It could be um you know Scott Burchetta from Big Machine, or anybody like that.
Yeah.
um and I could name off a lot of the big wigs in the record labels, but you kind of get the point when I say Scott Burchetta. Of course, now Scooter's got it, but Scott still is very involved. Um, but either one of them could be in an audience and hear you and go, hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
First thing, you're probably on the phone with their A&R people going, you got to check this guy out and tell me what you think. Um, but with where you're at right now and getting ready to release more music, um, and the hopes that you have for reaching more people
Hmm.
is kind of my assumption, and I'm guessing that's a very true one. Um, with that being said, say you get to the point where you get that moment, and you're going out to headline your very first arena tour,
Hmm.
and we're talking like Garth Brooks size arena tours, huge
Wow.
arena tours,
All right.
and you get to handpick 2 people to open up for you. Who would
Okay.
those 2 people be? No
Oh man.
consideration of their career or anything,
Okay.
because I have a lot of artists go, "Well, I think they're gonna be too big." It's just it's hypothetical, so
Hmm.
that has no play in it whatsoever.
Well, gosh, if I'm that big, then it'd probably be people I want to hang out with too and write with. So I'd say I have to get Alabama boy Riley Green,
Mhm.
and my daughter would like that too. She loved to meet Riley Green.
You can tell her I know from experience, he's a great guy.
Oh, it'll eat her up. We know
I
several
started
people
to
that
say
know
probably
him.
ought not rub that in, hadn't we?
No.
I got in trouble with that with my daughter too.
So yeah, we do. I'd say Riley, and probably one of my favorites out there right now is Cody Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, but
Cody's
man, that feels weird to say. But we're dreaming, right?
right, right. It's just fantasy, if that's what you wanna call it. But both of them are great. I mean, I'll tell you just quickly my Riley Green story. I was working in Southern Illinois, and he came out of a deer stand to come visit me at my radio station.
Don't doubt it.
And if you know anything about Riley Green, it takes a lot to pull him out of a deer stand.
Yeah.
Uh, Now the good thing was he was going to another location to get in a deer stand, and he had to go right by the station. But
Mhm.
that's one of those secrets I just need to keep to myself and say, yeah, he came down out of a deer stand, came visit me at the radio station, and I have pictures to prove it. So of me and him at the station, not necessarily him coming out of a deer stand.
Right.
Uh, but and then Kojo, I mean, he's just a cool guy all around
Yeah.
too. I've not got to
Yeah.
meet him yet. I've saw him live for a few songs, but I've never got to meet him,
Yeah.
and would love to because I think he'd just be one of those guys that just
Yeah, I like his message, and I try to do that
Mhm.
too. He doesn't shy away from who he is. He's not ashamed of his
Uh-huh.
faith and everything, and I love that about him.
Yeah. And if he's a believer in something, he will let you know that he believes in
Yes.
it.
That's right. That's right.
And so that's one of the big things. Like I was saying earlier, my oldest son was in law enforcement, and that's one of the things that you always hear Cody talk about it just about every show is
Yeah.
backing the military, backing the law enforcement, backing the first responders, and showing them, the respect. And I have always been that way. I mean,
Mhm.
so I think that's really cool. As a matter of fact, coming up Thursday night, I'm hoping to have he's a police officer, but he also is a country music singer that will be on the show.
Oh.
And I'm hoping we get all that lined out. I'm waiting to hear back from him now. But um, I if somebody wants to find out more, okay, you got your website.
Mhm.
Uh, what's the best place to get a hold of you or to find out like if where you're going to be playing or things like that?
Yeah, well, I put all my upcoming dates on the website, but I'm
Hmm.
probably most active on Instagram. I like to spend a lot of time over there. So, and I do answer my own, messages. I may not need to say that, but I do because I appreciate it when people answer mine. So I try to do it. It may take me a little while, but I'll get back to you. But put all the dates and everything on the michaeljhughes.com, and everywhere else. It's Michael J. Hughes Music, even
All right.
TikTok.
So you've got that, michaeljhughes.com. Go to the website, go take a look and kind of find out more about him or check him out on social media. I was trying to look here. One thing I always try to look at, I didn't look at it earlier. And yes, you do. You have merch on there. And I always try to encourage people
Yeah.
go buy the merch
Yes,
because
please do.
that's a major way that artists make their money.
Hmm.
Um, and I just think it's a good way for people to help you out and like the hat that you've got on now. I love that hat. I love the logo. It looks so good.
Thank you. Yeah, I get the best compliments from that logo, and it was designed. I got to shout him out. There's a guy in Troy, Alabama, named Perry Brown. He does. I came to him at first, and I said, "Man, I need a logo." He came up with the Michael J. Hughes, script logo at first,
Mhm.
and then I told him, I said, "I need something a little smaller." I said, "I'm thinking like a cattle brand, but I want a star in there to represent Texas because I got some Texas connections, and
Right.
boom, he nailed it. I mean, he nailed it.
Yeah, it's a great logo. I love the way it looks and it just flows and um quite honestly, just looking at the way it is from what you're wearing and the way it's done, um, it's got kind of like a fox head look to it almost on the
Yeah,
M.
I
I
can
mean,
see that.
it's really cool. I just saw that and I'm like, wow, I hadn't noticed that before. That's pretty cool. Um, and I mean, that just goes back to country roots, hunting and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
why I noticed that. But so go check out the merch. It's at michaeljhughes.com and some good looking stuff there. I mean, hoodies, t-shirts, some stuff for the ladies and the koozies and just all kinds of stuff. So go check that out and order and then always download the music, buy the music on Insta or on I started to say Instagram, on Apple iTunes is what I was trying to say, or you can purchase it. Wherever you can get your
Yeah.
music. Go go download it and buy it. That's one of the big things. I mean, if I bought everything I listened to, and I'm not saying this to be, but I listen to a lot of music, so
Mm-hmm.
I have
Yeah.
to cheat a little bit.
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but we don't want everybody to do that. We want you to go out and buy it because that all helps the artists. And in the long run, they're just trying to make their next um, song or batch of songs to give out to you, the listeners. So by all means, go do that.
Yeah.
So let me see here. I just had a buddy of mine actually comment. I can't bring it up right now, but so again, the song is called Keith Whitley Songs.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing song, great sound. Go check it out. Check out the other things that Michael's got up there, and then keep your eye out on his social media for the new stuff. That's always a big thing, anything new coming out, and pre-save it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to do it. If you get that option to pre-save or pre-order, then go ahead and do that. So, Michael, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. It's been a blast, and have really enjoyed just getting to know you.
George, thank you so much. I've looked forward to it, and it's been better than I ever imagined. Appreciate it very much.
Well, you are sure welcome, sir. And you guys, again, be sure to tune in to us on Thursday night, where we'll be back with another country star of tomorrow that we want to introduce you to right here on Before Nashville.